Let me start by saying, as a seasoned Dark Souls 2 hater with 500 hours, I'm a veteran at being skeptical of anything From Software puts out without the words "directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki" attached to it. That said, when Nightreign was announced, I was like, look at what I had to write in this script. The Souls games are my favorite gaming franchise of all time, and literally the only thing I have ever wanted was a Souls game that I could play with my friends. Almost all of which are people who hate playing these games alone and who I've only been able to convince to play if they're playing with me. And then From Software was like, yo, you guys like Evanescence? And I'm like, oh my god, Rikishi's ass is making me feel weird. Sorry, I think I'm getting my nostalgia mixed up. Finally, finally, a Souls game that I can play with my chronically employed friends. I put my faith in Michael Zacky's faith in this dude and waited earnestly and patiently. And when they dang day came, I literally had to spend the whole day writing an entire YouTube video from scratch just to keep my mind busy while I was waiting for Nightreign to unlock. And then it did, and yo, this game's goated. I loved it immediately. Even just the fact that we finally got an in-game rendered cutscene to start a Souls game had me like, yo, this game. And yeah, my favorite character is Recluse. And yeah, it is because she's black. Now, to be honest, From Software burned me to a crisp with this one because the basic intro character designed to be as versatile and generalist as possible so that new players can get accustomed to the mechanics is literally just my preferred playstyle in Souls games. Parry shield? Check. Ultra Greatsword? Check. What are you trying to say, From Software? Saying I'm some kind of basic template archetype with no real character? Because from my opinion, suck a dick. I'm not going to qualify my opinion too much because at the end of the day, I have faith that anyone who would enjoy this game is probably going to get it. It's a Souls game but co-op. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And if this is the first Souls game you're thinking of getting, I'd say only get it if you hate playing single player games because literally any actual Souls game would be a better introduction than this Ritalin simulator of a game. This game takes such an incredible level of divergent focus and quick reflexes. I'm convinced that it was the director's vision to make the world's greatest fidget toy for people with ADHD. Now sure, I have my complaints, but I'm sure they'll be addressed, and even if they aren't, they're really not deal breakers. But there is one thing about this game that is holding it back immensely from being the GOAT rather than just a good game, which is playing Elden Ring Nightreign with random people is a fetid arsehole. I played this game for like 5 hours straight when it launched, and during that time, the vast majority of my runs ended without even getting to day 2. I managed to squeeze out a narrow victory against the first Night Lord just as a friend of mine that I planned to play with on launch day got home from work. And I want to emphasize that this friend of mine is not a Souls veteran by any stretch. He has barely scratched any of these games, and when he has, it's been in co-op with me. He's not an expert. But as soon as I just had one person that I could communicate with effectively over a voice call, we beat the Night Lord on the first try. And every run we did over the course of the next 5 hours, we made it to the final boss every time. Save for 1 or 2 hiccups where our third teammate just refused to work with us. I played Wilder, he played Iron Eye, and we absolutely stomped through the game, save for not being able to just eke out another Night Lord win. This is the problem with Nightreign, if there is one. It's like it's a game designed for you to have the kind of synergy of literally sitting next to each other on a couch, whilst the only form of communication that they give you is a single thumbtack. Basically, the only good runs I've had with randoms were when I had played a few rounds enough to get a feel for the game, and I happened to match up with fellow absolute gamers that I could tell had a lot of Souls experience. Otherwise, I could usually tell that a run was dead at the very beginning, and I would have to spend the next 20 to 40 minutes or so just wasting my time gamer leaning forward and babysitting like it's the Vietnam War, until we eventually just die to some random field boss on day 1 anyways. And honestly, I don't know if that's a problem that could be fixed. I feel like the ability to play with randoms in Nightreign is basically just a placation for people who don't have friends. Because it is just straight up not the way to play this game. Can it be fixed? I don't know. The best solution I could think of would be to change the pin system so that if you place down a pin, there's like a 1, 2, or 3 next to it, depending on who placed the pin down first, to denote where everybody should go in what order. Then there could be kind of like a dialogue about like, where should we go first? As well, I like that you can pin items that are on the ground, but I'd love it if you could like hold down the analog stick and then move it in a direction to add a tag to the pin that corresponds to a particular player. That way, if I see an arrow talisman on the ground and I want to let the archer know, I don't have to accidentally call the guy who just swings big axes around and just waste his time as he stares at the talisman and then me like, why did you call me here? Just giving more options to pinning in general, I think would be a big help and probably the best thing that this game could do. But even then, that's not going to help the fact that sometimes people just do not work together. I'm sure this is something that'll mostly resolve itself over time as less and less losers who are bad at video games are buying and playing this game. I'm sure the inevitable review bombing and average to low scores that this game is going to receive as a result of the usual people complaining that hard game is hard will deter exactly the kinds of people that I think were kind of ruining a lot of my day 1 experience. And then we'll be left with a player base that, regardless of skill, will at least be able to get into the flow of basic strategy. But as it stands now, whether you want to call it a design flaw or a necessary evil, Nightreign is just a game that is meant to be played with friends. And you know what? Yes! I love it! I love that a video game in 2025 by a AAA company has been designed to be played with people I actually know in real life. And any other way of playing is optional, like it's there, but it is vastly inferior and no one would want to do it. If you're out there and you're upset that Nightreign isn't as fun without friends, cry about it, loser. I'm tired of gaming feeling like this hobby you're supposed to enjoy entirely alone in your room. I miss the days of a robust couch co-op market. And while I'd love for those days to come back as well, no, It Takes Two is not enough. That game is for dudes to convince their girlfriends to spend time with them doing their favorite hobby for once. In the age of Discord and more people adopting gaming PCs, it's not that hard to link up with friends to play games online. And this game not only scratches the itch of anybody that's wanted to co-op a Souls game without having to invent a mathematical theorem to summon them to their world, it's also a great step for the entire gaming industry to start cultivating a market for video games to become something you share with people you actually know in real life again. I don't think Nightreign does anything that special in particular as a game itself, but I don't think it needed to. It just needed to be a Souls game that's fun to play with friends. And that's exactly what it is. Everyone that's hating on this game can cry about it. If you're hating on this game, look, you're just not the target demographic. And you can complain about that all you want, but it's like when everybody on the playground is playing kickball and you want to play tag instead. We're playing the video game you need friends for, you freaking loser. If you don't have friends, either get some or go listen to Radiohead, but don't shit on my new favorite game because it's not yours. Just let some people have things and stop treating every video game like it has to service your particular desires or it's bad! The end! Okay, but all that said, you think if Recluse had a baby with Revenant, it'd be light-skinned? Or do you think Revenant has that, like, Michael Jackson disease and the kid's skin color would be a color so deep we couldn't even comprehend it? Like, hey man, what nationality are you? And the kid's like, black too.